Greetings and welcome to a Monday edition of the Shotgun Start. It is August 5th. Andy, how we doing?
Brendan, I'm doing well. I'm just ready to battle some adversity today.
What's the adversity? What's the problem?
We're PJ-less. I'm jumping back into the producer role.
We jumped the gun on PJ. He said he's in Manhattan celebrating his mother's birthday. We weren't going to pull him out of that, but we're going early here on Sunday afternoon with the Olympics golf, the men's Olympics golf competition wrapped up. We will not have an update on the U.S. Senior Women's Open, the Portland Classic, the Korn Ferry Tour's Utah Championship, because we are going early. I know I said it's August 5th, but it is early on August 4th. Scottie Scheffler has won.
You're going to have a nice little Sunday afternoon ahead of me.
Well, we'll see. Yeah. It's progressing here on the East Coast already. A tough week, tough Sunday. Regardless of whatever his homily or his preaching was on this Sunday, another tough Sunday for the chaplain as Scottie's form, chaplainless, continues to skyrocket with a gold medal. Ted Scott, which brings up another debate. Someone earnestly asked me, golf fan, like a pro golfer himself, asked me this morning, just not plugged in, do the caddies get the medal? Serious question. And I said, well, we've discussed this at great length, as you can imagine, on the Shotgun Start. It's some great fascination to Andy. And I said, no, they do not. I think there's a legitimate case. And this person quite rightly pushed back to me, caddies don't get medals, but you could argue in the horse events, the horse is the primary athlete, and you're giving them to the coxswain and the rowing machines, the rowing events, where that guy's not doing any athletic move whatsoever. He's just yelling. He's sitting in a boat and yelling.
That's a great question. Why does that guy get a medal?
He gets one. But then I said, well, if the horses are getting medals, then you have a big nationality question. Like all of a sudden, it's like, what nationality is the horse? So this is the sort of the murky area of the Olympics. And I do think a caddy is doing something out there. But coaches don't get them. Coaches don't get them. Assist trainers don't get them. And so you got to draw the line somewhere. And Ted Scott just gets the pin flag from 18 as his memento. No gold medal. But Scottie walks out in
I'm
tears.
Surprised, players have issue with playing for no money. I can't believe these caddies. This is what they're dealing with. They're going over there,
talk about adversity,
going having to the Olympics, and they don't even get paid, or they're paying out of pocket. Is this a negative week for Ted Scott, even with the win?
Well, I think it depends on your player. I wouldn't feel good if I was Toasty's Looper about breaking even on a week like this. But I imagine.
Do you think he just got a local to come? Local Frenchman to come caddy for him?
My neighbor was sending me pictures of him. He was following him. My neighbor went over there, immediately started following Toasty. Said he was a burly boy. So he looks like a shot putter or a discus thrower. Maybe he just grabbed someone off the heap at the track and field. I don't know, but Toasty acquitted himself fairly well. I don't know who was caddying for him.
Do you see what the spread was today? What it ended up at?
It hadn't been bad. What did
32.
It end up at?
Sadly,
okay.
Pavon.
Just the pressure of playing at home, right?
What's his tattoo say?
I don't know. My tears. I don't know. There's something about his tears. Without sweat, there are no tears of joy. I don't remember. It's there's a translation issue there, I think, from the French. But Victor Perez, though, gave the locals something to cheer about. So let's get to it.
Let's get to it.
The Olympics. A lot of hyperbole, or maybe just accurate summations. Prisoners of the moment about this was the tournament of the year. This was the back nine of the year. This was as good as it gets. Where do you fall on that? It was a wildly fascinating Sunday morning. Where do you fall after that? After watching that?
Listen, I think people have been out on the Olympics too down. In recent weeks I've claimed my spot on. I'm very bullish on the Olympics.
Are you saying golf in the Olympics in general,
golf,
both?
Golf.
Okay.
I think this was honestly a moment for it. And when you start to just like zoom out and you look at we could talk about today, but when you look at Olympics in general in golf, they've had great tournaments. Last Olympics you had the Cinderella story of the Silver Slovak, but when you look
Who can
back on it,
forget?
you'll have Xander Schauffele, gold medalist, right?
Yep.
4 years before that, you had a great duel between Stenson and Rose, and you'll have Justin Rose, a generational player. And now you get another, guy that could be headed to all-time player status in Scottie Scheffler. You get Scottie Scheffler, who without a doubt will be one of the generation's best players, winning a gold. And you kind of zoom out and you look at it, and it's like, okay, you got Rose, Schauffele, and Scheffler now. And then you look at the podium of Fleetwood and Matsuyama. Fleetwood, a very good player of the generation, not like anything spectacular, but a guy that's performed extremely well in big tournaments. And Hideki Matsuyama, Japan and Asia. Would you say he's Asia's best player ever?
I think we're at that point. I mean, some people would say jumbo, but that's kind of hard to measure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's probably him.
And like you look at what I think, like,
with Rory,
this was
Rahm, Xander
this
all
was
circulating. Yeah.
this was the moment that I think is going to launch it up. I think that anybody that didn't qualify, there had to be a lot of FOMO of like, I wish I was playing in this.
Sure.
And I think it has now established itself in, I think, like, honestly, you saw a guy kind of melt in the cauldron.
Xander, you're talking about, right?
I think we're talking about the heavy set Spaniard.
I'm kidding. 4-shot lead, doesn't even medal. We'll talk about him. Yeah.
But you saw some, like, there's stuff at stake. You saw, I don't know what was going through Fleetwood's head, but it seemed like, I mean, 180.
It does
to
pass
cover
the Fleetwood test here.
180 to cover. 180 to cover. 180 to cover from the short rough. He hit 6-iron. He tried to hit it soft. Like, if you're trying to win, that's a 7-iron all day for everybody. You're coming in high, and you're trying. That's the only way you're making birdie, and it shows how much the medal matters. Like, that's the cool thing. There's a unique aspect of the event because of the 3 medals.
Games within the game. There's a lot of side contests going on. I would say, looking at it, it was fascinating to watch and listen to Fleetwood process a silver medal, right? Like, I think for elite pro golfers, probably everyone in that top 20 feels eminently capable of winning a 72-hole stroke play tournament in this field. Like, they think they could do it. Silver almost, it's weird. Silver feels like, in that scenario, at times, Silver could probably feel like the first loser, whereas bronze feels like the last winner. Like, hey, I snuck in here on the end, and I'm going home with some hardware. And for these golfers, it changes from sport. And, if you're in the pool with Katie Ledecky and you get a silver in the 1500, you're probably, that's great. Like, I just think for a pro golfer, it's fascinating to listen to them process a real achievement, a real prize, and something they should be very proud of with, I didn't win the golf tournament. And you got a little bit of that with Fleetwood today. And I think you've had it in the past with even like Henrik Stenson, when he had just come off dominating the Open Championship, right, in 2016. So it's like it's a different mindset for golfers. But I think that's what makes this event so unique, right? There are these real and it added to the Perez element, right? If Perez is just like lighting it up for like a backdoor top 3, top 5, whatever it is, that's a different thing. But going for a medal is some sort of added achievement and added accomplishment.
Can I ask you an earnest question?
You can.
If you were a pro golfer at this point, after this Olympics, like going forward, you can have an Olympic gold or a PGA championship. Which one would you want, personally?
A PGA championship.
That was a quick answer.
Yeah. Let's pump the brakes. The Olympics, I think an Olympics gold medal that may be 40 years. That may be the case. Right, this generation of player, I think it's a major championship. A major is a major, whether we want to say it's a PGA of Valhalla or a Masters. Like a major, still a major on the resume. I think, like, obviously you said it's having a moment. This feel like I agree with you completely. It's a fascinating history just in 8 years now. In 2016,
The
it sort of
Zika.
felt, well, yeah, and quite honestly, it felt like NBC, which had the Olympics, was sort of trying to force it down, like stamp this is important because we're saying it's important. We know we don't react well to that. We want to hear from the players. We want to hear from like people who go to it, who are on the ground. You cannot tell us something is the biggest deal beforehand. And obviously it was very weird. There was that Travelers Championship and guys were flying from that down to Brazil, and they got a great podium for the field they had. It was just an odd mix. Tokyo, a very strong field, much improved field, no
They had
like
the
high
COVID
profile
thing.
holdouts. But yeah, you don't have a real tournament atmosphere. And then this year you finally get it all to match up, and we're building towards Los Angeles. And by the way, you have the players now on the record. They're all committing. Like no one's saying no, I'd rather not, essentially. Maybe there was somebody out there who did that. And B,
Well,
like,
hold on, the Netherlands decommitted.
yeah. Yeah. You say they just worked us in 3-on-3 hoops, 21-6.
Jimmer
Just kicked our ass, Netherlands.
Jimmer
That's
should
why
be
you
embarrassed.
couldn't make it. There's like, no, we're sending 3-on-3 hoopers. Like we know they can win. But everybody at this event was like, that was unlike any golf tournament I've ever been a part of. The French guys, obviously. You have Tom Kim in tears. You have Scottie in tears. You have Fleetwood calling about one of the great, achievements of his career. Wyndham Clark saying it's simulated a Ryder Cup. He's done a Ryder Cup, just did one. He said it was incredibly unique. Rory called it as.
I got a question. Did any of the Live guys say it was just like playing Live?
I haven't heard that.
Okay, I just wanted to check.
I saw Neiman had some quotes about the field being built and how it was, and I didn't hear anything about it.
It was like just like Live Adelaide.
Yeah. Like the players. So that was our skepticism early on. NBC's just let's not make this. Can we at least see it and hear it? And now the players are all on the record. EVR said, Rory said it's like a major, but just more fun. Maybe that means it's less tense. I don't know. EVR agreed. Said it's unlike anything he's ever been a part of. Ryan Fox, who's played in all three, said this was by far and away the best one. It's a more sporting crowd as opposed to just golf crowd. So there are something here that's really special.
Atmosphere was awesome. With I will say, I'm not a Le Golf National fan, but I think it does a nice job of creating an atmosphere with those holes that all play around each other for the finish. And I think there's a lot of tension created by water being everywhere, and
yeah.
Water and thick rough work somewhat well together, because if you hit it into the rough and there's water in front of the green, then or all around a green, it makes you have to lay up. But I thought the atmosphere was unbelievable. What was Pau Gasol doing during the
I was wondering about that.
It was so. My wife was watching.
Wait, no, he's Spanish. He's not French. I didn't know. I thought it was is he a home delegation?
Who's that? I'm like, that's Pau Gasol. He's a former NBA player. I have no idea why he's up there.
I know he's an avid golfer.
Yeah.
But what is that? What's the connection?
I don't.
It was a little bizarre.
I think that the other thing, listen, my wife I watch a lot of golf. She does not stop and pay attention at anything. Sure. She stopped and paid attention because it's in the greater scope. She's not a huge sports fan, but you get that Olympics gravity of this isn't just golf, it's the Olympics, And I think that's the other aspect of it. And I don't think I think the only major that has that gravity really is the Masters, where you have the gravity of where you can pull someone in. Every other major doesn't, and that's just another aspect of this event that makes it very unique and I think like extremely substantial. I was like kind of sitting around on Friday and Saturday wondering like why didn't I more seriously contemplate going to cover this event?
Yeah, it seems like it would be an amazing one to be on the ground. Certainly what we heard from like Brendan Quinn and Sean Zog. My neighbor, shout out to Pat O, went there. He was there sending me videos of all the like the crowd. He followed Perez. He said it was incredible. He said he took his son, Teddy. He said it was like one of the best. He's been to a bunch of golf tournaments. Said it was one of the better tournaments he's been to. And like there is that larger inclusion of the Olympic stamp, right? And this is what I think the argument for those who wanted it like in the game, sure, you're taking it to a general audience, right? You're taking it to a larger audience, like you talked about with your wife. Something about these games have been amazing for me personally. I've just really been locked in. It's been so fun to kind of have it on in the background during the day, then watch the whole primetime packaged show at night with my family. And you saw like Novak Djokovic in like tears, like Alcaraz in tears about losing. Novak saying it's maybe the greatest accomplishment of his career, bringing that home to Serbia. You see all the play golfers in tears. Tom Kim and Scottie. There's clearly something. John Ezekowitz had, I thought, a pretty good tweet in the morning. He says the whole Olympics has felt very cathartic for individual athletes. He talked about, Simone Biles, Novak, but the sports world after 8 years without fans, like bravo to Paris thus far. I thought that was like, there is a cathartic element to this of it's in maybe the greatest city in the world, one of, and it's just been, whether it's American success or not, it's felt like a really great celebration of sports. And like you talk about, there's the scarcity of it, like the uniqueness and scarcity of winning a gold medal. That's not going to happen very often to many golfers. You can win a green jacket every year, and that's going to carry more weight to pro golfers, but you can't win a gold medal.
I think I'd almost pick the gold medal over the PGA Championship.
I can tell where you're going. You're all fired up.
I think there's like a huge significance in, like, you're an athlete, you're trying to be the best at your sport. I mean, we love to poke fun at like the golfer athlete thing. I mean, and when it comes to like how far they hit the ball, but like these guys train and do, and this is the Olympics. This is the first one. This is the pinnacle of all sports. I think that it's on its way, and it's been super successful. I think the other thing has been super successful despite limited buy-in, uncreative formatting. Like, it's done well with everything working against it. Limited buy-in, Zika virus, COVID. And now we're here and it's like, yeah, this is awesome. And it can only add on. Like, that's what I'm excited about is, like, where does it go from here? Is there eventually a team competition? Something I saw Padraig Harrington replied to Michael Kim. I thought this was like super enlightening in terms of what the team model. He said the IOC made it very clear during the consultation process for golf re-entering the Olympics that they were not interested in an event that simply adds up separate individual performances. So like an aggregate event, not interested. Yep. I don't believe any other event gives two sets of medals for one performance. So it would have to be a new event / week where players were absolutely dependent on each other for a medal. That immediately got me thinking, like, what is team golf? And to me, it's alternate shot. That's what it is. Team golf, if one format of golf that is really team, like when you play alternate shot with someone, you are a team. You are living and dying with like the other's performance, which I think is like a team sport. It's like giving up, like knowing that everything isn't in your hands. That's alternate shot golf. So I think alternate shot would be a slam dunk. It's less taxing. I think that's the other selling point. Like, how you could do it is it's less taxing on players, and you could, like, because you're only hitting every other shot. So to me, you go alternate shot, you could do men's and women's, or you could do a mixed. And that is home run. You could do 2 rounds, 3 rounds, whatever you.
Yeah,
whatever
I don't think it needs to be adding a week. I think it could be why can't it be 36 holes? Why can't it be a day and a half essentially? And you're only hitting 30 to 40 shots in a day. And yeah, I think there's that element, but the players are pretty strident and adamant that the individual medal should be judged by
72
hole stroke play. They were this week. They have been. The IOC and the IGF have said, like, look, they want the thing that's closest to what the sport is the other 51 weeks of the year, which is that kind of tournament.
How many weeks is the Olympics total? Is it 3?
It's like 2,
2.5.
2 plus a day or 2. Yeah, it's like a Friday to a Sunday, essentially.
You'd have to do it. Like starting to think about, like, could you get just a break in golf for 3 weeks and you make it like, I think like the thing that you're talking about every 4 years, could the Olympics become like the festival of pro golf, where you have the men and women there at the same time, intermix, and it starts with like mixed alternate shot, then it goes to like maybe it's 2 rounds, mixed alternate shot, then it's men's and women's alternate shot, then it goes to the men's and women's competition. And like they go to big enough cities where you could concurrently run them. And I think it would be would really get that's what, in my opinion, what golf needs is like some sort of uniting of like everything. But it's not just like with LIV and the PGA Tour. It's with the men's and women's game. They work so independent. It never comes together. And I think that aspect of being able to bring both games together and intermix for the highest athletic achievement you can have is something that would be special for the game.
Yeah. The Olympics golf does not need to be a Thursday to Sunday event. It is because of like the tour schedule is probably on the front and back of it. Right. But like you can work out all the various tours. Then you have 2.5 weeks or 2 weeks in a day to play around. Right. Like you could have started the men's competition at the beginning of last week, have a couple day event on this weekend, and then the women's or vice versa, whatever. If you can get the tours around it to work, there's potential obviously to do more. We're going to Riviera in 28. It's only going to get bigger. Then they're going to Australia after that, which is obviously a golf-starved, loving nation. I don't think they're playing. I think it's Royal Queensland or something, I think is where it's supposed to be. But still, it's going to be in a golf, next 2 are in major golf markets. So
what would be really cool? I love thinking about ideas like this. But if you did the mixed alternate shot, if you had like a qualifier, and if you fell into like this bucket of players, you can pair up. Like, I think it would be so cool to see, men and women like on the tours, like, trying to pair up and then trying to qualify, right? Kind of like how you in tennis, you have like, doubles pairings that are like, they get to pick their pairing, but then you have to qualify. And there's like a qualifier tournament or something. I don't know. Just a thought.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of potential here. And one way to maximize your potential each day is to start it with a little AG1 in your shaker bottle. We're going to get to the specifics. Right. Sounds like you have something you want to say about Rahm. I have plenty to talk about Scheffler, Rory, Xander taking a shot at Rory. We'll get to that in a minute. But first, we started our day with our AG1. I was up this morning a little before 6. I know you're an early riser. That's sort of usual for you. I threw on the TV, just great, like fast and furious golf early on. Tons of shots, nonstop. Pace was fast, but I made sure to get my AG1. It's a balanced formula for me each day. I don't have to chase my nutrients. I don't feel like I'm, summer can get a little hectic, right? You're at the pool. You got to figure out how to get food to your kids at the pool. So all of a sudden you're ordering fast food, DoorDash, all this junk. It's hard to stay on a regiment. Even with that 15-minute adult swim break, they got you at. It's just hard to keep up. So I've been sure to order food.
That's why.
Yeah. You try to time it up for delivery. It's just hard to stay on track. But I know each morning I'm getting a good start with my AG1. It conducts relentless testing to set a standard for purity and potency. You want to hit both P's there. Purity plus potency, relentless testing. There's 52 iterations of this formula to get to where they are. It's not a buzzword. It's a commitment backed by expert-led scientific research, high-quality ingredients, industry-leading manufacturing, and rigorous testing. AG1 goes above and beyond industry standards at each and every step. So you and I have been doing this now for about 2 years. Keep it in the fridge. Keep it cool each morning. It's a part of a daily routine. I don't have to chase everything all day. If you want to join, replace your multivitamin and more, you go with AG1. Go get a 1-year supply of vitamin D3, K2, and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first subscription at drinkag1.com/shotgun. That's drinkag1.com/shotgun. 5 free travel packs and a year supply of vitamin D3, K2. All right. Thanks to them for their support. I don't know if Scottie had his this morning, but his AG1. He had something. Might have had something at the turn. Came in 29. Not like an odd day. Not in a bad sense, but so unique with Rahm so far ahead. This sort of, there was this real tension on the first tee, right? At 6 a.m, 6:40 when they went. Like you could tell something was happening here and something was on the line. There was real stakes, and it started with a Fleetwood bogey. I was like, oh, well, this passes the Fleetwood test. If he's feeling it, like this means there's something significant at stake. And then it just progressed in sort of you had the Perez, you had like, this is Rahm's for the taking. It's very easy. There's little in doubt. Rory gets his run, but it was Scottie all along, I guess. And he just made, five, the run from 14 to 17 is astounding.
I think what was fascinating watching was there was a moment while Xander escorted himself out of the tournament. When he was doing that, I kind of was looking at the board and I was like, I mean, this is insane. The Americans might not get a medal despite, Xander, Scottie, like Morikawa, everybody thought was a good fit. Shout out to, Wyndham Clark, really
Big
giving
ups.
it back to the haters.
Yeah, I loved seeing that. I think he was there on 18. He gave Scottie a high five walking off.
I also love how people thought this would be a good fit for Bryson DeChambeau. This might be like the worst golf course ever for him. But anyways, it looked like for a second that there was going to be no American medal, and then the guy birdies 15, 16, 17. It was nuts. Those birdies were out of this world. Yeah, when you just add them up.
16 was that cut shot. Of course, that's the famous hole where Phil conceded the point on the tee box, didn't even get off the tee box to lose the Ryder Cup. The rare tee box concession. Hits a beautiful cut. Probably the best shot there of the day. I mean, it's not the hardest hole, but, the water in front is menacing in a way, and he cuts it into the water, against the water, I should say, and drops on top of the flag. 17 was sort of an outrageous birdie, right? That's like the Scottie difference. Brandel saying on the post game, he was talking about how the flat swings of Rahm and Fleetwood couldn't get it from the rough to stop like that, and the more upright Scottie Scheffler, Jack Nicklaus, those are the great swings in all of history, because they can get it from the rough like that, up and out, and stop it. It was an incredible birdie putt. Shout out to the crowd, like a real crowd in France, real crowd. Everybody said, like, oh, do they care about golf? It seemed to be a massive, massive deal. And they kind of erupted with him there at 17. And his odds, I think Data Golf said his odds were like 0.25% or 0.4% as of, like the middle of his back nine. And he comes in 29, 4 birdies in a row. He talked about 13, the par putt being the one that pushed him, sort of the momentum. And that's where he went on his run.
The whole round. I mean, bogey free 62 on a golf course that, like, I don't care if it's soft, I don't care, but you have to execute at extraordinarily high level in order to not make bogeys out there, because if you hit it in the rough, it's really hard. And then there's water everywhere. Like it, and I just, like, I think like one of the things, like we see a lot of people that are front runners in pro golf, like that win when they're out front. I think this year, like Scottie's been it's just amazing to watch him just like track down people. It's like, I think I said this after the Open, he's like a zombie in these tournaments.
Yep.
Where today was a perfect example where you're like, I mean, like Scottie's not going to win, but it's like, and then it's like 2 holes later, you're like, oh, he's not dead yet. Oh, he's probably going to win. Oh my God, he won. You know, it's like this. It's just a truly great year, and you know, when you gain 10 shots approaching the green on the field, you're hard to beat.
I'm happy for little Bennett, who was able to watch it. I know the swimmer Caleb Dressel talked about how it didn't mean anything until he could do the gold medal in front of his son, who's 4 months old. So I just can't wait for the Dressel boy and Jon Scheffler to tell each other in vivid detail the stories, exchange war stories about watching their dads win gold medals. But it was good. There's so many declarations about what it means for the player of the year. I was like, I do not. Like, can we just have these guys achieve things in a vacuum and not give a shit about what winning a gold medal or winning the claret jug means for the player of the year debate? He seems to be having, you know, an all-time. He has had an all-time year already, and this just puts a bow on it. He's the best player in the world. Tommy, I feel like we've already hit on. Anything else you want to add about Fleetwood? You know, people kind of got on him about 17 and then the shot into 18.
I mean, 17.
He stayed in it.
17 was like a very hard up and down.
Yes.
Like
he's coming from the rough.
The announcers were like, "Oh, he got lucky staying in the short rough," but with the grass right behind it, it's like almost more awkward. Like you almost would rather have it in the thick rough where you could figure out like you don't have the idea of like hitting the grass coming into impact. Like you're consistently, you know what it's going to do. I mean, Fleetwood made putts, and that's usually the thing that you see with him coming down the stretch is he didn't make putts. He doesn't make putts. I think the thing that killed him, he got a really bad break on 14. Like when you zoom out, when you really think about like what went wrong, the tee shot on 17, not hitting the fairway there, but and it's a hard tee shot, and like you saw the difference between Scottie and him, like that's a 2-shot swing there. But when I think about it, it boils down to 14, where, you know, I think he made a mistake. He went with like a little bit less club that didn't cover the bunker. And, you know, I think he thought he could get it to cover, but then he got a really bad break of not getting on a flat lie and like in the bunker and having a chance to get up and down there. Yesterday, the day before, he had like, I can't remember what hole it was, but he had an incredible long up and down. It might have been there, same hole. I think it was where he got up and down from that bunker, and it was an incredible shot. Like you had like 40-yard bunker shot that he almost holed. So I think like when I think about Fleetwood, it's just like one of those things where he kind of got just a tough break there and didn't take advantage of the easiest hole on the back nine, and that's what ends up being the difference, right? He didn't make any big mistakes.
No. I think people just wanted to hone in on the bogey late and sort of the shot at 18 coming in, not even hitting the greater regulation. But that seems a little unfair given how much he hung in there. He got a medal, which is more than his playing partners can say. If we started the day, said Jon Rahm and Xander Schauffele will be in the final group, and neither will get a medal, I think people would have been surprised. A medal at all. Jon Rahm with about 2 hours to play, a little more, has a 4-shot lead at one point and does not even medal. He said, he, clearly pained. Said he felt like he let his country down. Felt some real emotion. Calm emotion from Rahm. Not the
surprised he didn't say Legion 13 fans down too.
He did not say that. He said he felt like he let his country down. He wanted a medal. Certainly was in a prime position for gold. I've been saying all week how much this means when the tournament was over. You know when you win, but you definitely know when you don't win it. And this just stings on a different emotional level. It hurts right now more than I expected. There was some pretty, stark assessments of his play. All out choke jobs, calling it an all out choke job. He clearly he blew up. He blew up. He imploded on the back nine and did not even medal. I don't want what to ascribe this to. I think that people will attach it to being some sort of live assessment or commentary. I don't know. Xander had as equally a poor a day, is equally non-factoring, more of a non-factor a day. I wouldn't ascribe that to being on live. I think Rahm, has had it's clear he doesn't love the live environment, it seems. He was on record before he went there saying he didn't like the format. He didn't like the 54 holes. He didn't think it was real. Like, you can change your mind. That's fine. But clearly some of those feelings are percolating down there. Now, does that mean that's why he didn't win today? I don't think so. I think that's just overinflating the live thing. And it's an easy sort of facile shot to take at live and Rahm's current plight. He's had an injury this year. He's had like 3 kits in the last couple of years. His standard was high to keep, but it's unquestionable who the best, like, he's been passed in a significant way this year by Scottie Scheffler when they were kind of neck and neck a year ago.
Yeah. And I think like this goes back to the point why I think the Olympics is such a big deal is that when you're coming down the back nine, the best tournaments aren't about, oh, you might win whatever, $30 million if it's live or, the PGA Tour's FedEx Cup. That's not, I don't think that drives the most interest. What drives the most interest is you're coming down the stretch trying to join history, like trying to become, a member of, like, trying to make history. That's what makes things compelling. And that's what makes people feel stuff. And I think like Jon Rahm, I said this after Pinehurst US Open. I don't love the word choke. I don't love but something happened with him, and the golf swing went from fully under control to, it seemed like it got a little quick with the way his misses were off the tee, particular. It was just like he was driving it better than really anybody in the field, and then he was not driving it well. And that, could be a lot of things, but I think it was just the moment that he was in, and it's hard to win really big tournaments and you're going to fail more often than you succeed. And I think like I thought this would have like really redeemed a lost year for Jon Rahm, and now with this, it feels even more lost.
Yeah. He seems to be playing better. Like, he won in London, right? The week prior.
But what's left?
Was obviously,
and he wasn't ready to play this year.
Yeah. Yeah. So he did get the polls coming late, like you said, some polls both ways. Just got a little
short misses, pulls off the tee.
Yeah.
Maybe some mental mistakes. That's signs of feeling uncomfortable. And I think like he said the day before, he talked about like how more significant, I think in his post round, he talked a little bit about like how it's different, how you're playing for your country. And like, it's got a different feel. It's got a different gravity. I think Rahm is like someone that cares about history, cares a little bit about like the bigger picture of things. And I think like for a player like that, the Olympics has more weight to it than, somebody that wouldn't care. Like, I think I think this event's harder for people that have that kind of brain.
Well, think about this, Andy. Like, think about the field. The course is what it is. It's not great. Okay. The field approximates like a signature event. It's worse in like strength, but it's like approximate in size and stars. So there has to be some added element, right, of why the Travelers feels the way it is, or Harbor Town, and why this so clearly feels the way it does. Why players are in tears. Why, like, because it is part of a larger, and the Olympics, like, is not without its sort of corruption, and brands trying to get in your pocket and all that. This isn't but the competition feels a little bit more pure, and there's the scarcity element of it, right? And there's more meaning. And Rory spoke to this after after the round. You've been banging the drum on the Ryder. We've talked about the Ryder Cup since like 2016, having this element of like money cannot define significance or importance or passion. And after the event or after the Olympics, Rory said, I think with how much of a shit show the game of golf is right now, and you think about the two tournaments that might be the purest form of competition in our sport, we don't play for money in it. And I think you see that across the entire Olympics. You see that with swimming, you see that with track, like you just, and so golf for a minute. By the way, like the Ryder Cup had this going for it 8 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And we still dove headfirst into the, like we knew that, but we're still running headfirst into the FedEx Cup must have 25 million guaranteed. And we like this big money disruptors, we're just going to disrupt by money. Like we still ran into that era. Like that some of those forces are impossible to resist, but what it all means is never given. And that speaks a little bit to Rory's quote.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think, but I also think that the FedEx Cup, I want to actually defend the FedEx Cup. Like if you think about it, it's hard to figure out a way to make something feel significant. Like in general, it's hard. Like it's a hard task.
I don't think they've always helped themselves though with that.
No.
Okay.
They ran into the money narrative way too hard. And I think they need to figure out some other cachet to it. But like I do want to like I think the easy comparison to make, the easy thing to just kind of like hit on is like, oh look, like here's another event that's better than anything that the PGA Tour has. That's true. But it's not a fair fight. They're going up against the freaking Olympics. It's the Olympics. And I think like, I honestly don't think it's much of a conversation in my mind. In terms of like the golf events, there's the 4 majors and there's this and the Ryder Cup. And there's then it's players? Like, then it might be the players, might be Riviera.
Okay.
But then it's the players. Like it's not, it sucks for the PGA Tour, but the Olympics are a bigger deal. It's more interesting. It is a second to me, along with maybe the Ryder Cup. There's 3 events now that have the ability to transcend into sports nomenclature. I was having dinner and drinks with our neighbors last night. They are not golf fans. Yeah. They were asking me who was going to win. Well, and like to Scottie's performance, I was like, well, there's a bunch of people nearby. It's going to be either Xander, Rahm, or Fleetwood. They're in the final group. It's going to be one of those guys. There's a bunch of guys in the mix. I listed them like a bunch of guys off that were in the mix. And I was like, it's going to be one of those 3, though. It's nobody else is going to win. And sure enough, here we are. Scottie wins. But like the greater point is my neighbors who don't care at all about golf because it's in the Olympics wanted to know who was going to win.
It's part of this larger fabric of like that had the 2 greatest tennis players in tears this morning. Had Katie Ledecky like screaming her face off in the stands to watch her teammate. Like this is a larger sports event that draws some sort of emotion out of it, and golf gets to throw its hat in the ring. Like I don't know anything about gymnastics, but I cared a lot about Simone Biles, and that's probably why where the non-golf fan comes from. And us golf diehards are elevating it because of that. Go ahead.
I like one thing that I wish I had written down the note. I was kind of just watching this morning. Wasn't writing notes. So apologies. The fist pump that Scottie had on either 16 or 17.
17.
That was about as I don't think I've ever seen him so animated on a golf course.
Whistling Straits Ryder Cup-esque. I feel like he did maybe a little of that there, but maybe not even. Yeah. Maybe not even
we
that.
don't see him do that to win tournaments.
No. Not the Masters, not the Players. No.
And the other thing I will say about Scottie in terms of like players, like he has been around. He's been at all the other events. Like to me, he was someone that really captured the Olympic spirit. Like someone that was going to the different events with Meredith and old Bennett. Bennett will never forget watching Simone Biles.
I think he's got a notebook. He's got the details written down. Exactly.
I think Bennett asked for like a couple selfies. They asked the family to take a couple selfies. But anyways, I think that that was something that stood out to me, is that Scottie Scheffler doesn't react that way.
It's interesting. Yep. And of course you have the tier. There's only one anthem that gets played. Like the silver and bronze are awesome prizes. There's only one anthem that gets played, and it's obviously an elevated experience for that person. And he was in tears with it. What do you make of Xander taking a shot at Rory? The quote we just read about, the golf's in a shit show, but clearly the two things that mean the most are ones where money's not at the forefront. Xander, the first line, I mean, he didn't have to say this. He didn't have to, hit the gas this way coming off the line, but he did. Says he kind of bounces around with his opinion, He said that he's reverted on that topic, which is not inaccurate. And I think Rory speaks on a lot of things at a lot of different times. He was sort of poo-pooed the notion of the Ryder Cup, 15 years ago, before 2010, Celtic Manor, right? He sort of poo-pooed, like he's went hard at the Olympics at I think it was Troon. That press conference. He went hard at that. I think it's okay to sort of evolve your opinion based on your experiences. But Xander, that's jungle cat stuff. That's just not a lot of guys take public shots at Rory like that. And I would say that's a shot. He bounces around with his opinion. And it was crowbarred in there. He could have answered without adding that. But
it was just right out of the gate. So it's just, he didn't even have to say that to make his point. I think
win two majors, he's going to start coming out of his cage a little bit here? Or what do we think?
He's halfway to Rory.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I mean, there is something too, though, like with what started this kind of FU Xander run was getting completely body bagged by Rory at Quail Hollow in the same group.
It's an interesting origin if you want to go there. Yeah.
It's like almost like I took that personally, what Rory did to him at the hollow grounds of Quail Hollow. But I mean, I think there's the other aspect about like Rory's is his what country he plays for is a little complicated.
Well, that's totally yes.
And I think we're missing some of the context situation of what Rory was talking about 8 years ago.
His identity is very complicated. Like, yes, and especially on Olympic golf, he can switch yes. There's no real critique there. It's a very unique situation. We know that in Northern Ireland. And
I don't know if Xander really understands that aspect about Rory's Olympic, situation. How like he is from a country that has been fought over as to what country is a part of,
Yeah, and how he grew up and the kind of uncomfortable, unfair position he's been put on, who he should play for, like that. Yes. But he has switched his mind on the Ryder Cup and the money and all that. He did do it on that one.
I think there's flip-flopping. Like, I guess like I struggle with this. There's like this like anti-evolution of ideas. Like, if you asked me how I felt about something in 2016 and you asked me now, if it was the same, I almost would be like, well, like, have I not like evolved? Like, have I not gained any perspective over my life?
Yeah, and you've experienced something and you change and you've considered and reconsidered. Yes.
Like, is it good to be consistent? Like, I guess my overarching question, I think there's like on topics that like you could be principled on certain topics and keep your views the same. But I would ask a question of like the greater society. This isn't a golf question. Is it good that you believe exactly the same thing your whole life?
No, of course not. I think there's some frustration underlying here.
To me, that would be a really boring life if I never evolved the way I think about things.
Right. I think there's probably some underlying frustration here with about the live and piff and all that stuff. And you know
And his
what?
good friend. I mean, think about who Xander's best
Yep,
friend is.
right. All I gotta say is I don't necessarily agree with the substance, but I'm all for it. If Xander comes out of the summer, 1 and 2 majors, and being a little more interesting at the mic,
Yes,
and taking shot, I'm all in. I'm all in. Let's get ready to rumble. I'm not saying he's calling out names here, but it was a little bit off script for what we've come to expect from Xander. Rory, his play, we should talk about real quickly. Beside the quote, made a run. Hit 2 sand wedges that were the subject of great critique in the front 9, where he was in the fairway and hit sand wedges and missed the green. In the moment, I kind of thought, sand wedge, not a great dispersion, but I think he's like going hard at flags at that point. Rahm is coming out of the gate, and like I think he probably wants to win the gold. Yeah, still a sand wedge. You got to hit the green. I think he saw a different strategy. Then he hits a 3/4 shot at 15 that does not gets to the green, comes off into the water. I think similar mindset, though he was a lot closer. He was in the medal contention there and even a lot closer to the gold. And, he's never been, the 3/4 deal. I wouldn't say has always been his strong suit. He's gotten much, much better. But I think he's trying to win there. And he's trying to a front pin. He's trying to hit it to that.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it was a bad shot.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. It's crunch
it's just
time.
like the mistake you can't make.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things he did so well at Pinehurst in the was like the sometimes accepting the 15, 20 feet and making a putt. And I think he got impatient there. He was feeling himself. He made all those birdies in a row. And it was, I mean, it's the hard thing about golf. That being said, like I thought Faxon pointed this out. Like Scottie's like the most conservative player in the world. He's very conservative. Sunday, he was not conservative. That was full go. And I think Rory at that point was looking at it and said, I can win gold. And I think that shot was an attempt to make another birdie and potentially it wasn't. I think we saw Fleetwood clearly play for a silver medal on 18. That was a silver medal shot. And I think Rory at that point on 15 was playing, I'm hitting this close and I'm going for a gold. And I think I think Rory probably felt like similar situation to Rahm for this week where like, you know what, like a gold medal would really make this a great year for me, even though I had maybe the biggest disappointment in my career at the US Open. I think that like the Olympics offered that dynamic for players like Rahm and Rory, where they had disappointing major seasons for their standards, and it offered a chance to get something that is like the highest sports honor you can get, And I think that's like Scottie getting it now is like a cherry on top, and I think it quieted the Xander Player of the Year conversation.
Yeah, I thought on the aggressiveness, the Scheffler said like he was exceedingly aggressive at 13 and still being able to get a par out of that was what kind of ignited the entire thing. It was like, yeah, that was like even for me, that was a very aggressive play there. Being able to scratch a par out was huge. Was honestly, another Rory moment where it felt like, holy shit, 5 in a row. He's going to win the gold but you can't birdie every hole coming in. It was a bad shot on 15. What else do we have? The coverage seemed good, bad, indifferent. There was some complaints about going to commercial on Scottie's in 18. I started with it early, and maybe I'm overweighting like how the early part was and set my impression for the day. I thought it was amazing. I thought it was good too. Nonstop shots.
I woke up a little later and did the fast forward game.
Yeah.
And like usually I catch up really early.
Yeah.
I was like, there's not commercials for me to catch up on. I thought it was really good.
there's no like produced stuff like here's a vignette on so and so. It's just golf shots one after another. I thought it was pretty good. One thing I'll say, watching the swimming with Hicks and Rowdy Gaines, like I don't know anything about swimming, but God, I enjoy them. They seem to have an amazing chemistry that works so well. And they've done, I think this is their 8th Olympics. They must work whatever, like 20 days a year between trials and stuff like that. But they've now done this for 8 Olympics, so 24 years essentially, or I think since 96 and 2000, somewhere in there. And it's just so fun to listen to them like get so enthusiastic together. They feed off each other. And you think about like NBC's doing this rotating booth with Hicks in golf. It's kind of like you just see both sides of the coin, right? How's he going to establish any kind of rapport? It's just it amplifies. I don't know anything about swimming, but I love listening. They're excellent together.
Yeah.
And it's so fun. And Hicks on the other side, I don't know who should be in the booth, but changing it every week doesn't seem like a great solution. And it's sort of the opposite of what they've established over 20 plus years in the swimming.
You would think I mean, there has to be a long-term solution figured out this year for NBC. Yeah. It's such a disservice to golf fans for not having anybody establish a rapport.
Another quick coverage thing I've been just noodling on. I love the primetime show they do. And I'm not suggesting golf is like the Olympics, but is there like a 20-minute show? They're turning this around. Like these events are ending at like 5 Eastern and then they have a show at 8 Eastern. That's like, here are the highlights. Here are the celebrities in the crowd. Here's an interview now after they've come to the, like, can we get this kind of like 20 to 30 minute show for like some of the biggest events in golf, an hour show? Yeah. It's like I know the results. Like I know Simone Biles won, but my fan, like I'm not suggesting they have the same interest level in the second round of the whatever Travelers, but God, that seems like a potential golf show. If they could do that at 8 Eastern or 9 Eastern, that's an hour long. That shows me all the shots I need to see, key players, funny moments, celebrity, whatever it is, and then some interviews. Like I don't know that. I already know the results. I think that's been a cool show, even though I know everything that happened. Anyways,
good week. I think this is a good week for NBC.
I think it's, yeah.
Well, I think like the thing is we heard it from Sam Flood's, in his transcript in that interview earlier. Like they were focused on the Olympics all year. It shows like
so much money, so many assets brought
they
to bear.
Actually did a good job, and they did a good job without like their A+ team, Yeah.
It's been a great Olympics all around, golf included. Anything on the course?
What about the Google ad getting canceled?
What Google ad?
The Gemini.
I missed that.
You were at the beach. It's like the AI Google AI ad where they, it's like teach my daughter how to write a thank you note.
Oh God,
people were complaining about it. It got canceled. It got taken off the air.
I like that. That's good. Tom Kim,
they were just bombing people with it.
I would imagine. Tom Kim, feel for him. He's in tears. He's like, I don't even know why I'm crying. I think part of that has to do with the military service, or like just the emotional release of putting so much into this week, and then it's over. Also, the Olympics. Like, I think it's just the Olympics. You don't know why you're crying all of a sudden. You don't know why it means so much. And that's the magic sauce sometimes. And Victor Perez, super cool moment to see him really get in the mix. Even though Pavon said, like, I didn't expect to feel it. Like, I wasn't really prepared for this emotion. Too many emotions, so many people. So cool for him, cool for Perez, and cool all the way around. Great men's Olympics. We have the women next. Other golf shout outs for this Monday. Ian Gilligan wins the Western Am in 11-hole sudden death playoff.
That's
over
insane.
Jack Turner, his Florida teammate.
That's like the hardest week. You play so much, and to have to play that many more, insane.
Yep. Annika charging a little bit at the U.S. Women's Senior Open. Looks like Lita Lindley is going to win that at Fox Chapel. She's 3 clear at the moment. And then the Portland Classic is ongoing. Andrea Lee is your leader at the moment, with Alexa Pano, former Netflix star, playing pretty well as a pro up there, but they have to tee off still. Final round. That's it.
That
You got
does it.
anything else? You good?
I'm good. I'm good. You good?
Yeah. Everyone enjoy your Mondays. We will be back with you on Wednesday.